Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to the kickoff event for Modern Workplace Faraway Friday. Hi, I'm your host, Michael Gannotti, and I am a HLS or Health and Life Sciences technology specialist for the Microsoft Corporation, focusing on all things healthcare. This webcast is actually the first of its kind that we're doing, and it is in direct response to customer requests as they've asked myself, some of my colleagues, Mike, look, there's so much out there in the world of Office 365, Microsoft 365. How do we keep up with all the announcements as they come hard and fast on a daily basis? Well, that's what this webcast is all about. So we're going to be doing this pretty regularly, looking at a cadence of roughly every 2 weeks or so. If you want to find out when we're holding these and keep up to date, you can follow me. I have my LinkedIn information in the slides here below, so you can see that and take a look. Follow me on LinkedIn and you'll know. Let's go ahead and move on with today's presentation. First of all, today is brought to you by the power of Skype meeting broadcast. So we're broadcasting here out of my home office. A gray and dreary day here in Chester County, PA, out my window. But I'm sitting in here with nothing more than my Surface Book, got a trusty microphone, and the built-in webcam for my PC. That's it. And we are broadcasting to you. You can learn more about Skype meeting broadcast and how you and your organization can leverage it to broadcast to thousands of individuals, both internally as well as externally, if you desire, by going to the link below. I will have this slide attached to my LinkedIn after the broadcast so that you can grab them and grab all the links. So be tuned for that. All right, today's agenda. Again, this is really in response to customer requests. So we're going to kick off each one of these sessions when we do them, talking about what's new in Microsoft's modern workplace. We're going to take a look at some of the big announcements that have been coming out over the last few weeks. We'll be getting, like I said, into a regular cadence around that, so you can take a look. We'll discuss them. You can ask your questions around those announcements. That's where we're going to kick off. After that, open forum Q&A. So there may be a slight insertion in future episodes. I've been approached by a couple of partners who have solutions and also some software solution vendors, ISVs, that have solutions that sit on top of our stack with Office 365 about talking. And so we might put those in for a 5-10 minute segment to keep you up to date in some of the latest offerings that you can leverage. But then we're going to get into the second half, which is the other part of the meat of this presentation, open forum Q&A. This is the time where you as a customer can tune in and say, look, Mike, I have questions. We were looking to roll out Teams. I don't get it. There's SharePoint, there's Yammer, there's Teams. Where does it all fit? Fire away with your questions. Let's talk. Let's keep it open. You can ask questions at any time. Down below the video and slides, you'll see there is an open Q&A forum. I have that open here on my PC. I'll click that. So now I'm looking at it, and actually I'll just type a quick hi, fire away with your questions here. All right, so put an exclamation mark. So this is where you can come and ask your questions. I'll see them as you post them. I'll be referencing back and forth. I'll take a look. We'll queue those up and we can answer them. We can do it ongoing during the initial what's new, but then anything that's on top of your mind. If I don't know the answer to it here and now, I'll tell you. But what we'll do, and I promise, is we'll take all those questions. I'm going to queue them up. We'll put them out. I will grab the questions after the fact, download them. Things that I couldn't answer live on air, we'll go ahead and grab the resources and answers to those to provide those to you as follow-up, again, in that LinkedIn post. After open Q&A forum, we're going to wrap up, talk about the next session. I'll give you the date as well as a link to that. And that's it. That's what we're going to be doing today. If you have any questions, again, down below, you'll see those, and I'll queue those up as we go along. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. And the first piece, we're going to go to content only there. The first piece that I wanted to highlight is around some new Office 365 and Microsoft 365 training that's available for your business. You know, I get asked on a frequent basis. We're on premise with different customers, you know, large pharmas, hospitals, etc., device makers, and they're like, look, Mike, all this stuff, how do I get my users trained and up to date on it? Well, Microsoft is really trying to help you. In fact, we've had some resources that have been available right within the admin center of Office 365 that whenever I show customers, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's that? But we have had those, but we have some additional new ones. For example, there is a new Train Yourself training wayfinder that's available. So when you choose that, and the link that I provide here, and again, I'll post that up in the follow-up with this, it's going to take you to where you can go ahead, and we have new training, brand new training we've been rolling out that's for admins, business owners, IT pros, etc., where we'll have we have all new training around Teams, Yammer, things around Microsoft 365 as a whole. Brand new, available to you, and we continue to ramp up those resources. Additionally, if you're in a small business, you know, you may not be in my vertical with healthcare, but we have some training that's available for you for healthcare as well, and we have the links to those. We also have some areas, you know, for those admins. If you are an administrator in Office 365, there are all kinds of routine admin tasks that need to be carried out. Well, guess what? We've got content in short videos that show you how to, step by step, that are going to walk you through that and help you to get the training you need to handle the tasks you need to handle on a daily basis. We also have Office 365 training for IT pros. You know, we have those enterprise admins, IT pros within your organization who need to ramp up on the critical skills for Office 365 around deployment, administration, internal help desk support, and others. Well, we have a whole series of training built out in LinkedIn that we link to within the portal, and we'll provide that to you as well. Finally, your end users. You know, we have training for everyone else in your organization, including your employees, the end users there, to help them get the most out of their Office 365. We have quick start guides that'll help them. We have infographics. We have templates for emailing them, etc. You can choose Train Your People in the admin center, or I'll have a link to be able to provide that to you as well. Great resources. Keep up to date. If you haven't seen this, again, if you go right into the admin center itself, you'll see these first three that are highlighted in the graphic in here. But there are additional ones, again, and the one link that I've provided here will bring you to all that. If you want to jump the gun and get started on it, just go ahead and bing, Office 365 and Microsoft 365 training for your business, and you can find a link directly to this. Next on today's announcements, and I see, oh, wait a minute, we have real quickly, before I move on to that. Hi, Mike, glad to see you back online watching from the train between Frankfurt and Berlin. Michael Greff. Michael, I always enjoy having you out there. I still remember when you sent me a screenshot from, I think it was your iPad or iPhone one time. So we have audience in Berlin. So hello, if you want to shout out, just go ahead, say hi. Happy to talk with you and to call you out. On to our next. This is a huge story. And again, one of those ones not enough customers know about, because when I've told some of them, they're kind of floored. Increase in SharePoint Online storage allocation. You know, a lot of folks, when I'm on site with them and we're talking about moving to the cloud, and they really want to take advantage of all that security and compliance that they can put on it, you know, things around data loss protection, e-discovery, etc., have one unified place. A lot of times in the past, they've said, look, we can dump all this into OneDrive, but what about in SharePoint? Here's our storage allocation. In the past, you got 1 terabyte base, and you got an additional 500 0.5 gigabytes, so 500 megabytes per person. So it was a formula, right? You went ahead and you said, we got 1 terabyte and I have X amount of users times 0.5 gig or 500 megs, and that gave you my total storage. Well, guess what? It's went up, up, up. We've reallocated, and as of July 1st, they're going to be rolling out. You get that 1 terabyte base plus 10 gigabytes, not 0.5, 10 gigabytes. That is a 20-fold increase in the amount of storage that you have. That is huge. So as you're looking at file shares and other areas that customers have come to, and again, if you need to go beyond that, yes, there are plans in the storage. If you need to move even beyond that, cheap storage. But just as an example, so I've got some very large pharmaceuticals I work with, and here we have a little chart over to the left in this infographic, and you can see that it says some examples, and one of them is 100,000 user license. So if I got 100,000 people in my org, we do the math. We get the 1 terabyte per user. We get the 10 gigabytes. That comes out to 1,001 terabytes, or just over a petabyte of storage base at no extra charge. That's huge, right? So take a look at that. It's going to start rolling out as of July 1st. That's going to be available to you as a client. So as you're looking at getting things consolidated in those online stores, that's big news. You should take advantage of it. If you haven't known about this, start evangelizing it internally, because that can change where and how you do things. Get off those old file shares, get it into the cloud where we can do all these things around compliance and others, and make that data useful, put policies, auto expiration, all that good stuff, right? So that's that for that announcement. Next up, I love this one. The SharePoint migration tool V2 is now generally available. So many folks have seen the V1 that came out. It came out this last year. We had the V1 of the tool. Bill Bear was talking about that online. He's been doing great work around this, but they're now in V2 and it's generally available as of 5.9. A lot of folks don't know about that. If you take a look at the new SharePoint migration tool, a couple of things that it does that it didn't do in the past. So first of all, you have older SharePoint on-prem. You've got SharePoint Server 2013, and you have lists that you want to pull over. They actually have a breakout on the link that I provide here. But if you have different type of lists, calendars, various lists that that are out there, will now support the migration of those lists, not just documents, but lists, and bring them on up to SharePoint Online. They've also improved some of the auth support to connect to more on-premise sources that you may be wanting to look at. Additionally, let's say you don't have the destination area, you're just pushing it on up and you're not going from point A to point B. Well, the migration tool now will automatically create a site collection or the list if it doesn't already exist. So it's going to handle some of those things automatically for you, right? Continuing to beef that up. And then on top of it, if you need to do a bulk upload, we've had the CSV format. We had folks that were requesting JSON. JSON is now available and supported as well. So you can do it in either format to do a bulk upload, leveraging the tool. You can get the tool at the link I provide here at https://aka.ms/SPMT, SPMT, SharePoint Migration Tool. I almost said SMTP. This is not your messaging. This is migration. So grab the tool, take a look at it, play around with it. Great for IT to have as one of the tools in their bailiwick. Certainly, if you want to get into very sophisticated content migration, we have great partners out there like Metalogix, DocAv from AvePoint, and others that do some phenomenal things. ShareGate, take a look at those as well. But we have our own tool, leverage it, work with it, and as you're looking at all that new storage in SharePoint, take advantage of it. You can use the tool to move some of that content. Next up, Oh, this one, when I saw this week, this made me so happy. So meet Surface Hub 2. I, I have to have my video on for this. So if you have played around with a Surface Hub, this week I had a very large client in, and we were going through and working how they could do director meetings worldwide for using the Surface Hub and seeing the interaction. And it's magical. It just works. It's so smooth and seamless. Well, the next rev of the Surface Hub is coming out. Some great video that you can watch. First of all, a couple of things that it does. Number one, it is much lighter and more portable. So we've partnered with some hardware vendors to put it on specially made stands, because guess what it does? It's got an accelerometer in it. You can go whoop and whoop, and it smooths. It goes smoothly shifting it up and down, sideways, and having the orientation automatically change depending upon the layout you want for what you're doing during a presentation. In addition to that, not only is it highly portable, much lighter, has that, you can rotate it, but now it has something called tile mode. So you can see in the picture that's in the screen here, you're seeing 4 of them. So it supports up to 4 in tile mode so that you can have things span, and they show, like in the video, when you first see it, it's showing in kind of a screensaver. There's the beautiful ocean, and you see the waves going on the screen, and it's great. But it's showing it tiling across the entire presentation. So now you have all these screens can work in tandem, break things out. They show some things with doing business intelligence and other dashboard type things tiled across and interacting with them. This is phenomenal. So you can take one or scale it up as needed with tiling. It is rocking. It is coming in 2019. Check out the link after this, or you can just go ahead and bing, check out Meet Surface Hub 2. Videos out on YouTube. The blog post is up. It's going to rock. I want one in here. I think I should be doing this kind of a broadcast from Surface Hub 2. If anybody from the team happens to hear that. So that's that. Let's go on to our next announcement. This one is big because I've had a lot of customers asking who are multinational, looking at Teams, and this is around direct routing. Is now available in public preview. So we've had customers asking about connecting their voice trunks to Microsoft Teams and wanting to do that, and they're international. Well, we're now rolling that out in many more countries. In fact, the link here highlights and calls those out. But it's a pretty big deal for those customers who need to have this. There's a couple of things around this, however. It is pretty much a self-service preview. So if you want to get started, some things to keep in mind. First of all, ensure your tenant is ready for direct routing. By having Teams working, if you're looking to do this, you need to have Teams up and running. Get familiar with it first and foremost, besides moving to that. You need to do that first. Then start, as you're piloting it, you're also going to need to make sure you have phone system in your tenant, right? That phone system comes with E5, or you might acquire the licensing separately, but you're going to need to have that in place if you're looking to do that. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Again, the link has some information around that, but you'll be able to start hooking that up, start having that direct routing for voice. It's something that we get asked about all the time. I know my colleague Pete Anello, he talks to this quite frequently, and we're continuing to advance along that front, but it's now in public preview for you, the customer. Next, this is kind of cool. So Microsoft Office Lens. If you're not using Office Lens, I have my iPhone here, and I'm going to go ahead and open this baby up. And so here is the Microsoft Office Lens application. Oh, there we go. We'll get the mirrors. But what it allows you to do, I can switch between the type of things I want to capture using the camera. And you can do this on your iPhone. You can do it on an Android device. They even have it for Windows. So I can do that, and I can capture whiteboards. It's automatically going to capture, clean it up. It OCRs content, but I can do that. I can capture documents. I can capture business cards or photos. In fact, with the business cards, it's really cool. So here's a business card I have. I can come in and it's automatically framing it. And when I select it, boom, it goes ahead. It's grabbed the business card. And when I check, it then asks a couple of things. Number one, it's going to drop it into, and I can pick which email account as a contact. So I can add it automatically. It OCRs it, grabs all the information off there and adds that person to my contacts. In addition, it captures it to Microsoft OneNote. Hold that thought, because a little more on that later. But having said all that, we now offer ink annotation. So if you want to annotate something like that card or the whiteboard that you just captured or a photo or a document, you can go ahead and annotate that content right on your iPhone, right on your iOS device, and then have it load into OneNote, save it, and be able to do some great things. It becomes a ready resource for you, not just, in the case of a contact card is, a contact, but you can accumulate these things, use it to grab and put things into OneNote so you keep consolidated resources around content. And it allows you to pick the OneNote that you want to hold it in, store that, and then be able to reuse that content, which brings me to our next piece. And it's just a little bit of a tip before our last two announcements. I saw this today. I quick added it. It's really not an announcement, but it's a little tip that I thought was a great idea. This comes to us by Eileen Lennon. She is an educator in New York, I believe it was. And she has a sway, online public sway, and I have a link to it here, about using OneNote as a resource consolidation piece. So all of her resources, she consolidates in OneNote for education, but the same applies for business. Look, let's say you're working on medical devices and you're doing research and things. As you capture that content, as you're on the go, and again, that's the beauty of it. You can pull up OneNote on your phone. You can pull it up on your tablet, on your PC, your Mac. You can insert audio, video. We can do capturing with OneLens, other external content, and adding it to that, automatically grabbing links and content. Many things we can do, but OneNote is that great resource consolidator. Highly recommend. Take a look at this teacher's OneNote, the sway that she put up, talking about how she uses it to consolidate her resources. It's simple, easy peasy, great use of OneNote. And again, then you have anywhere, anytime, any device, secure access to all your resources via Microsoft OneNote. Last couple of announcements before we get into Fire Away Friday, and this I think is just so cool. So, SharePoint Swoop. It is a multi-part reality show that shows some MVPs that were pulled together by the Microsoft, the SharePoint team, and it's all about doing an intranet makeover. I've been meeting with a lot of folks who've talked about how their intranets are stale, they want a do-over, they were on premise, they're moving to the cloud, or they moved to the cloud and just moved what they have. They want to take advantage of all this next generation stuff. This multi-part series is great because it is real world. It's not a reality show faked. They're actually working with a real client and in 3 days make over their intranet. Let me say it again. In 3 days, do an intranet makeover. So it was a real-time filmed reality kind of thing, multi-part series, but they walk through it. They have 3 MVPs, each one focusing on a different area of expertise, and making over a corporate intranet. This is the first of a number of series like this they're going to do. I'm so excited to see this. Been pushing for something like this for years, and now the SharePoint team's delivering. So it's something, yes, it's engaging and entertaining, but it's super informational, and it's not informational and boring. So you can check that out. I highly recommend it. It's called SharePoint Swoop, the Intranet Makeover Show, with their first mini-series focusing on 3 days, one client, intranet makeover and what they do for them and how they can use the modern tools to redo it and give you some great ideas about things you can be doing within your own corporate intranet space as well. So be sure to check that out. That's available. And that brings me, I believe, to our last announcement, which is the SharePoint conference itself. Could not go a broadcast without mentioning this. So on May 21st, I believe that's Monday, the SharePoint conference for North America kicks off. This will be one of the biggest series of announcements. They've been holding all kinds of stuff back I don't even know about, holding stuff close to the vest. They're going to do all kinds of announcements. But the beauty of it is today you're watching me remote. Well, guess what? You also can watch their broadcast remote for the keynote, where they're going to be doing demonstrations and highlighting some of the big core announcements to get people all excited for the follow-up sessions. You can do that. I've got a link here. They're calling it the SharePoint Virtual Summit. When they're doing the keynote on Monday, you'll be able to tune in. It's a 2-hour summit that'll be live, and then you can watch it also on demand. But there is a registration link. It's free, but you can go ahead. I have the link here that you can go ahead and access. So be sure to check that out. And I've also got links to the SharePoint conference website. And then finally, as they're making all their announcements, the tech community blogs for Office, Microsoft 365 will be featuring all of those. They've got a lot of these things queued up, ready to just go click, click, click as the announcements are made. So I've got a link to that where you can follow along and then go back and check out the announcements. Certainly, I'll be pouring through and getting some of the key ones for the next broadcast here. So that's it. That's the announcement, some of the big things that are out there. But it's time now for all your questions. You know, I've had customers saying time and time again, they have questions they'd like to ask. You know, all kinds of one-offs. You may have questions, maybe something around Microsoft Teams. When do I use Teams? When do I use Yammer? When do I use SharePoint? How do I set up my team? Can I use existing teams to spawn others? Can I templatize some of that process? How do we drive rollout? Microsoft Stream, what are some best practices around that? Well, how do I use Skype meeting broadcast? Whatever your questions, now is the time to fire away. Like I said, down below, you'll see the Q&A box where you can go ahead, fire up your questions. I'll see those as they come in. And then what I can do is tee those up and answer away here as best I can. And if I can't answer it here, we can go ahead and we'll do some follow-up, and I'll post that as well. So questions, go ahead, fire away, and I will queue them up. And so let's go ahead and click. Aha. So the first question, great one, comes to us about one of the announcements I made earlier, and that's with the SharePoint one. Thanks for hosting this today. Should be very beneficial to attendees. So Elena, you're welcome. And if you have a question, Elena, go ahead and post it. But I'm going to answer the first question. This one was posted anonymously, and it says, and I got another one already coming up. This is great. I love seeing the questions pop. So the first question was, if we're moving all these this content up into SharePoint Online real quickly, what are some of the advantages of that over a file share? And so at a quick highlight, a couple of things. Number one, when we talk about compliance, taking the ostrich approach and going head in the sand is no longer an option. So if you have file shares and things you're doing, it's the Wild West. Once we get stuff into SharePoint in a baseline, we can do things, for example, e-discovery. So we have the base e-discovery in Office 365 that allows us to go look for content, apply legal holds, export for audit, and all that. That's there. We have data loss protection that we can extend across SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange, that can actually alert us to content, educate users, insert that education right into the Office client, the web themselves, and if need be, lock down that content, right, based off of what they're doing. We also have additional features with retention policies, expiration policies that come into play if we have GDPR, or just in general, we may have things around we need to retain. I have a client who right now has their interpretation of their compliance regulations is that they have to keep everything forever until such time as not. So they've put retention policies on, and you can turn that on and have that automated either to geographic areas based upon attributes or everything. So there's a range of things that we can do there around automation, expiration, retention, deletion, securing the content, alerting, that you're going to have at your fingertips when you get it off premise and into the cloud. All right, so next, the first question I have here is from Rohan. Thank you for adding your name. And this next one that he asked is Exchange Online a prerequisite to using Teams effectively? That's a great question. A lot of times when folks think of Microsoft Teams, they think in isolation, but Teams is really that I like to refer to Teams as the user interface that pulls together the best of breed of our cloud services. Let me say it again, of our cloud services. So under the hood, when you spawn a team, we have Exchange that there's things around Exchange, and we have because we have, that email address is going to get set up where we can email everybody, we can email the team. It shows the meetings, etc. in there. We have SharePoint under the hood and some other things, and it's really looking for that. So is it a prerequisite to have Exchange Online? The short answer is no, it isn't. But there will be some trade-offs when you don't have that, and you need to be aware of that. So, I have a client, for example, who they have Exchange on-premise, right? And they have, a hybrid piece, but they have all of their Exchange email addresses, all their folks' mailboxes today are on-prem. They're going to move them up, but today they're not there. So when those folks go into Teams and they look at the meetings, they are not going to see their meetings because it only is going to show that view in Exchange. Conversely, they also can't create a meeting from Teams because their email box and their calendar, everything is on-premise, not in the cloud. So there are some trade-offs. That is a great question, though. What I'm going to do, there's actually some online documentation that highlights point by point what you lose with different things that they're not up there. So this goes well beyond that. So what I'll do is I'm going to grab that, just real quickly, and it kind of goes into and another question about Teams. I knew we were going to have a lot about Teams, and it's another one and it's OneDrive. So the question here is, what about OneDrive, like Exchange? And with OneDrive, if you don't have that with Teams, well, think of this. When we're doing chat sessions, when we do it with our team within, we set up, Team X, and we're chatting in the Team X space, all the attachments to those chats get stored within that SharePoint site. But what about when you're direct chatting, right? Like that's where I do it now. I don't do it in Skype. I'm into Teams, right? I go in, I find folks, I real-time chat, we do it on demand, I attach content. Attachments in those sessions get stored in your OneDrive. And if you don't have OneDrive in the cloud turned on, then you can't have attachments in those sessions because there's no place for it to go. So it gets disabled. So again, great two questions. And there's actually, like I said, some documentation. I will do follow-up on that and make sure that we have that as a part of this, so that when I post the archive of this and the slides, we'll also have the link to that content and documentation. Other questions? So we've had a shout out from Michael Greth, riding a train and watching this, going between Frankfurt and Berlin. We've got Elena out of one of my local healthcare clients, and I'm glad to see you there. Anything that we can do, I would love, if you have questions, love to answer them here. We We had Rohan. We had another anonymous one about putting content up in the cloud, and then a follow-up one, again anonymous, about OneDrive and Teams. Here we go. I have another one. Dave, I know Dave from another one of my clients. I won't call out the client name, but Dave, welcome. And he said, are there any plans for branding and registration for Teams meeting broadcast? That's a great question. So there are some things we're waiting to hear. I can't really talk about publicly. So there's things that I know about. I do know there's some announcements coming next week with some of that. There's an internal their plans moving forward. I do know, I can't say this. I know there's going to be more thought around feel, look, and stuff. That's as much as I know around that. But registration, that's a great question. So, today we don't have that. Some of that, they're doing an internal big announcement piece where I'll be able to talk under NDA. So, Dave, I'm going to be attending that on the 31st of May, just so you know. After that, hit me up and we'll talk. But that's a great question. There are things that we can do today to kind of front that, just so you know. And so, obviously it's a link. We've already done some broadcasts here where I've done them public. I've hosted some public ones. We had a 3-part security broadcast series that we did, and we did registration around that. And you only got the link by virtue of the registration. Now, of course, the link is a public link, but as you can see, if you look in your browser right now, it's a bunch of gobbledygook. Nobody's going to be able to figure out. So there are ways we confront that. Hit me up if you want to talk about that. But definitely you could set up some things with just a classic online registration system, something you might use through your CRM piece, or you might have you might be using SharePoint publicly or another system where you have a simple form registration, and then you provide as a follow-up, have a standardized email with the link that you shoot on over to them. So certainly available, something that you can do. And then once you could also even set up the link, it could be an intermediary page where you have them log into the page and then it bring them straight into the link to the broadcast. I've done that in the past. Works. I can talk, happy to work through. Maybe I'll even do a follow-up around that to kind of demonstrate how that works. But more to come after the 31st. Hit me up. Are there any that was that. So Rohan, what are your thoughts on Teams versus Skype for Business from a functionality perspective in the enterprise? Great question, Rohan. Today, it really depends on what you're doing. So there's 2 aspects to Teams versus Skype for Business that I think you need to look at as you look at, is it an either or is it a migration with some coexistence? So there is the voice piece, which really, when we talk about the voice video, real-time collaboration, that Skype focuses on. And then there's what we're doing, real-time voice video in Teams. Today, there are some things that we can do in Skype for Business, doing one right now, that we cannot do yet in Teams. And there has been some things publicly published around the roadmap on that. We've put some guidance around that, some rough timeframes. Are going to talk more about some of that next week. But certainly with the voice video piece, there are still some things that Skype for Business can do that Teams cannot do as of yet. That delta is closing. And, you can expect late summer, early fall, it to effectively flip, because the investments around all of that are being done on the Teams front. I will tell you, I love Teams because it is that next generation, what would have been Skype experience, and where I can go via the web. We just held one the other day with clients. Instead of doing a Skype session with them, they got team invites and they just joined via the web, plug-in free. Rocked and rolled. We were able to do desktop sharing the whole bit, and it just worked. It was great. Shout out from one of my clients, for myself and Rohan, somebody. Awesome. So that delta is there. Now, moving it on though for collaboration, if you think about what Teams does, it replaces 80 to 90% of what people traditionally used SharePoint team sites for, right? I can converse and we get the real-time chat with persistence. We can do meetings and meeting invites, but now the meetings are actually part of my Outlook/Exchange meetings, which makes it eminently more useful to me. Also, I can extend, and then we get the file sharing capability with co-authoring, just like I'd get in SharePoint, because it is SharePoint under the hood, but we abstract the users, make it a lot simpler for them to work with. Then we get the additional capability through tab additions to pull in things quickly and easily, like Stream, where we can do our meeting recordings, Planner, etc. And we can build out a robust workspace. So when we talk about the Teams versus Skype for broadcast perspective in the enterprise, for me personally, today I live in Teams. It really depends what you're working with. Most of the customers, when I show them how we use Teams, they get very excited because it makes sense. It becomes that one place where I get my work done. In the past with Skype for Business, that wasn't the case. I did SharePoint work here, then I did real-time collaboration here and jumped around. One-stop shop frame for everything I knew to get my job done on a daily basis. All right, moving on. Hopefully that if you have follow-ups, just go ahead and post them. Any insight on task management in Office 365? That's a great question. He said, they go on, this is Danny, and Danny, thank you for posting this. He says, right now it's a bit confusing. We never want to confuse you. It's a bit confusing having 3 places. Wunderlist, many people still use that. So they're saying Wunderlist to Microsoft To Do and Planner. You're right, there are many places. So first of all, let me talk about Wunderlist and To Do. So Wunderlist has been out there forever, publicly available. I remember when we first bought them, I threw it on my phone. Still works, does great stuff. I use it, can use it for my family. I actually now have replaced it with To Do. I know Wunderlist they're still getting feature parity. My understanding, and I want to asterisk that, this is my understanding, is long-term it is To Do. So that's where you can look. And To Do really targets small teams. It can target, some of the groups. It integrates with some of the other things that really target small business or task workers in an org. Like I work with a number of hospitals who have lots of task workers, and they want to give them a very light interface, and they may not even give them, full Office 365 access. They're giving them just some of those other pieces around calendaring and asking for, if they need to do scheduling, some of those things around that. And To Do integrates with that, and that's where they're building some of that integration. Planner, though, is for your enterprise teams, right? So again, if we look at doing things in the context of a team, I can add a planner, and planner is where if you want to get more sophisticated with task allocation, alerting, planner is something, it's a much more robust set of features. I use the to-do list for my family, my shopping. I can use it with colleagues, but really planner is where I do things within my teams and where I can use it in standalone mode to plan projects and team related tasks. So I would say if you're an enterprise and you're looking at it, you should be looking at Planner. Planner really is around enterprise projects, loose ad hoc projects. Then we go up into the project management chain, but it really is more along those lines where I can do task management, allocation. I can always, and we also have those new sort views. If you haven't seen it, you should go in. We have the, the tiles views where we can see the cards. We now also have an overview where I can see the metrics against all of them in one view and then against the schedule view and have that. So much more robust and getting more so all the time. And that also today can now tie into flow. You can even add workflow. So my stuff is, look, Yeah, next week, more direction. There's going to be a lot more around this again. And you said many thanks for doing this, Mike. You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Um, Hopefully that helps. But really, again, at a project management level, I would look at Planner, right? I used to do personally, but if you're an enterprise, Planner's really where that's at for those ad hoc things. Stick to that. It integrates with Teams, does a great job, and just gives you a lot more headspace and headroom where you might start to get more sophisticated, add workflow, etc. All right, that's that. Hopefully that's answered that. Um, Again, then I had the last piece I had was a shout out from one of my large pharmas. And yes, thank you for joining, you guys. I'm glad to have you aboard. Any other questions? Aha! And I said, I've started using Planner more so. Your response makes sense. Thanks. Look forward to one place to go in the future. I agree. I totally hear you. Think about that. I got another one from Dave. It said, thanks, Mike. Your enthusiasm about this technology is refreshing. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like what I do because for me, when we're talking about collaboration and more so the tools we're doing, I think about when I first left my background is elementary ed. I left I should have kept a sock here. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good. I left sock puppets in the classroom behind many years ago and went into IT. And I remember when I first did, we were running stuff off of Linux boxes, and I had everything to get anything done for users. You had to go through, I called it the IT mojo bag. It was like they had this bag of mojo that they kept close to the vest because everything was so difficult to use. Everything had to be custom done. There was all these, here's our set of services, and none of it really was user focused. It was around architecture and feature functionality. Now collaboration and the tools are empowering the users, so IT becomes a provider. They can become the heroes, rolling out services so it's not overwhelming, but we're really providing services, I think, that enable end users in a robust, secure, compliant manner, but easy to use, can be fun to use, get excited. Heck, we're doing this, we're live, right? We're using the tools to deliver the webcast. So thanks for that comment. How do I subscribe to receive a notification of future sessions? I found this informative. Great question. So I am working right now with my manager around setting up a site. Microsoft has changed some of how they're doing that. So there's a couple of venues looking to have something online, hopefully by the end of June. So that's our end of our calendar year. So moving forward, we should have some place with a calendar, subscription, etc. In the meantime, what I am doing is if you go to my LinkedIn profile, follow me on LinkedIn. You can go to linkedin.com/ I think it's IN/ Mike Gannotti. Just look MikeGannotti, Mike Gannotti. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I will publish, whenever we have something coming out. I'll publish the follow-up, like after today, the archive. I'll post that and put it out. So I'll do that in the meantime. But yeah, we do want to have a mechanism for allowing people to subscribe, build up a audience so it's predictable, regular. And it's not just going to be me. We're going to pull other people in so we can have panels around, and we can do maybe focus one time on security, another on this or that. Publish that out so you know what you're looking for, what to come in for. So thanks for asking that. I'm glad you found it informative, Rohan. And again, enjoy doing these. It's always good to be able to scale out. We're obviously scaling today because it's everything from here in the U.S. to we had a shout out from Germany today on the railway lines. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. So again, today though, take a look, follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll be posting those pieces out, like I said, for the interim out there, and you can find postings around that. Any other questions? We're at 10 till the hour, so we've been going for a bit. While we're counting down the time, and before, if I get any other questions, just thought I'll just kind of throw some other things out there. And actually, let me go to, let's minimize the Q&A, and I'll advance this here. I'm not wrapping up yet. We've got 10 minutes. But a couple of things just to kind of highlight, because you're asking. So the next session will be June 8th. I've already scheduled it. I already have the Skype meeting broadcast configured and ready to roll for that date. So I have a link in here, which I'll post again to my LinkedIn. If you're looking for me around announcements until we get our own website blog up and running for healthcare, you can find me online at linkedin.com/in/Mike Gannotti. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Gannotti. Twitter at twitter.com/Gannotti. And totally unrelated, if you just want to see my goofy pictures I post up, you can find me on Instagram at instagram.com. I promise you it is G-rated, my Instagram. Instagram.com/mgannotti. And so you can find me in all those venues. Happy to sync up with you online and to connect socially. So, for the interim, that's how you do that. So also, if you have suggestions, and I just want to throw this out there, right? So today I went through some of the big announcements that have been out there. We covered those, and some things that I think are important. I definitely want to encourage everybody to check out that whole new show that they've put out. The what was it called? SharePoint Swoop. The SharePoint Swoop show. Already have seen a number of other customers who watched those say it was awesome, opening their eyes to what they can do. 3 days, 3 MVPs working 3 days with an actual client to transform their intranet. Great stuff there that you can take advantage of. You can reconsume it yourself. So check that out. And again, I'll have the link posted up to all my social media channels after today's broadcast when I post the archive of this. So I want to definitely call that out. But today's format was basically some announcements, open Q&A, which we've been doing, and then a wrap up. Moving forward, if you have ideas around things you would like to see as a part of these broadcasts, maybe we're remote, maybe we're going on site, doing a meetup somewhere where we have people live and sitting around, let me know. Want to make it happen. I want this to be about you, the Microsoft customer, right? So there are lots of things we could do. Today I'm doing this out of my home office. We could go and I could host it in the local Microsoft office, wherever I may be at the time. We could do it, here out of the Malvern office, and people could come in. We could do it when I'm, maybe we're on site at another office and doing that, so people in those areas could come in. Partners, I've had a request for partners to get involved where they have solutions and things, and maybe do a 5 or 10 minute overview of a solution and showcase that and do that. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your ideas that you would like to see here. This is about you, so let's make it about you. Let me know what we can do, how we can help you, how we can better serve you, if the format is right, if the time of day is right. First and foremost, this is for my healthcare and life science customers in the U.S. Northeast, but it's open to all Microsoft customers worldwide, right? So anybody can tune in. So love to hear from any of you, but especially for my customers here in the Northeast, if there are things we can do to better optimize this for you that you'd like to see me address. Maybe it's a how-to segment that you want to have featured. Hit me up, right? So you can post those and put those here in the Skype Q&A. If you have any ideas right now of something you'd like to see for our next session, if there is things you'd like me to plan for and maybe you can't think of it today, hit me up on social media. and let me know, hey, your next broadcast, maybe you could cover this. Love to do it. Love to do what you need to help you with your business. I see we're at 5 minutes till the hour. Any additional questions? I got one. This is great here. I'd like to see a working example of Teams, even if it's just fake information, something that I could screen capture and share with leadership. That's awesome. To show the value of Teams. We don't have anyone using it yet, and it's hard to explain. A sample story and pictures are good. That is great. So as you're hearing me respond to you, you can reply if this is what you're thinking. But how does this sound? So, certainly I can do an attachment. I could do a kind of a screen walkthrough of Teams. But what if I did a video? This is Teams. This is where I work. Oh, and real quickly, Danny said, thanks, Mike. Got to run. Have a great weekend. You too, Danny. Take care. Thank you for tuning in. Awesome. Have a great weekend to you as well. But this one about the team. So there's a couple of ways I could approach it. I could create a PowerPoint kind of walkthrough of screens with explanation that you could run. Or I could create a video that I could post independently and provide a link to it that you could download and show to people, 5 minutes or like a 5-minute, this is Teams that explains it, or a longer one, whatever format you're looking for. So you tell me how you'd like it to be. If you'd like it to be a kind of a deck, if you'd like it to be a video walkthrough, love to provide that. I don't know who posted it. It was anonymous, but would love to do that. So you let me know the exact format that you're looking for. Love to, like to do that. If you're one of my customers here, we could even do a session where we run through and then we'll record the whole thing and give it to you. It's up to you. But yes, I can absolutely do that. I have stuff with fake data. And here we go. Ari, example of Teams. That would be fab. Just here's folks using it. See what can be done. Yes. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I've been demoing it quite a bit for customers using production systems, but we don't want to do that for a demo I put out publicly. So what I can do is this. I can get somebody else from my team to do, we can run it where we kind of do a this is Teams, where we build a team. I invite, I set one up and invite some people in, and I can use some of my folks internally, have them we can log in with fake IDs to a demo tenant that I have. We can then walk through actually, here's the team showing how we're doing persistent real-time chat, attachments, etc. Going then, adding some files, some co-authoring, extending it with Planner and some other key areas to record the meetings. OneNote, shared OneNote, right? During the meetings, people all taking consolidated meeting minutes, boom, it's done, and all the resources are out there. We can walk through, we'll build a whole end-to-end, do a short video, try to keep, I'm going to say if I do the whole thing and we build it, I can keep it under 20 minutes. I actually did this for a client the other day. My normal 3-hour session, we condensed into a very focused agenda. And I still have the agenda. It walked through, boom, 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 starting at the team and showing leveraging integration with OneDrive, all that. That's what I'll do. I did it in 20 minutes. It was a 30-minute session with Q&A. So I can do it 20 minutes or less. Cool. So we'll do that. We'll make a standalone, and I'll post that up to my LinkedIn once that's out, and we can do that. I'm going to plan on trying to get that done prior to the next broadcast. So that's out there, and I can just highlight it, and you can grab it, or you can grab it prior to that. Anything else? We're at 1 minute till. We're just about done. So I just want to thank you all again. Perfect. Yes, exactly. I keep trying to roll out, but people just don't seem to know what to do with it. Such a powerful tool. I agree. But if people don't get it, it just sits unused. Yeah, and really, it's trying to find those core people that can have that, they're going to get that value out of it. So think about targeting a team or two, and that's something maybe we talk about next time. Some of the leveraging of teams, how to drive teams within your organization. So thanks for that idea, though. We'll definitely get that out. I know we have some training ones, but they're really about how to use this thing in teams, how to do this, how to do this. You kind of want a day in the life, short and sweet. So we'll do that. So thank you for joining me, everybody. Again, I want to thank you for joining me today. Our next session, again, will be June 8th at 12 noon Eastern Time. Not on this same link. I've got the link here, and that'll be posted up, but I'll have that out on my LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Again, I'm going to post an archive of today's broadcast to LinkedIn, and I'll have a PDF version of the slides with all the links in it, so you can grab those, do what you need to do with that, and check out all the announcements that we talked about today. For any of the questions that today, there were some that there was some follow-up content, I'll go ahead and, again, as a part of the posting, I'll first post the video and the slides as soon as the video is done. It should be today, but then as I do some follow-up and grab things, I will update that announcement. So keep an eye on it. You can come back to it over this next week, over the Monday, Tuesday time frame. I should have that all up to date with additional content that I mentioned. I'll do that follow-up that was asked for around Teams. We're going to grab that. Thank you for that suggestion. Finally, if you want to connect with me online, talk to me during the interim, suggest things to me, post questions, etc. Find out when I'm doing these broadcasts, posting. I have modern workplace tips videos. I do Michael on the go videos. You can find me online at linkedin.com/in/Mike Gannotti, Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Gannotti, Twitter at twitter.com/Gannotti, and finally instagram.com/mgannotti. With that, we are at the top of the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Great first session. Let me know your suggestions for how we can make this better to meet your needs, the customer, because at Microsoft, here especially in the Health and Life Sciences group, this is about you, and we want to make it about you. So let me know what we can do. With that, take care, everybody. I want to wish you all a great weekend. And this is Mike Gannotti from the Gannotti Home Central with my grandson out there getting babysat. I hear him yelling. Have a great day. Take care, and as always, ciao.